This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
You know, one of the realities of being a late round selection, especially a day 3 selection, regardless of how good you are, what your NFL career may or may not look like, you are always one of the first candidates to be lost in the shuffle when the chaos of the NFL happens. Here's what I mean by that, right? When you're a day 3 pick and your coach gets fired, things start to get a little awkward, right? The day 1 guys, they're fine, right? The organization spent a first round pick in those guys. That coach is gonna have a plan for those guys. The day 2 guys, they're likely fine as well, right? The organization's not gonna feel great about giving up on second and third round picks. But day 3 guys, those guys can be replaced with veterans that maybe fit the locker room that the new coach wants more. Maybe they need to have space in the cap to bring in certain people that the new coach wants, and that's how they find that space. Day 3 guys, they have a much rougher go of it when there's change, when there's instability, right? Those are the guys who suffer the most because, you know, first round picks, they're going to have a plan, even if it's multiple coaches. And look, I'm not saying that changing coaching staffs doesn't have an effect on first round picks. It's just those guys are at least going to be thought of. Day 3 picks, it's a little different. So Shedeur finds himself in this awkward reality. He is a 5th round selection. Now, has he shown more promise than your average 5th round selection has showed in his time starting as the Cleveland Browns quarterback? I think you absolutely have to give him that, right? I think there's nobody who's going to deny that. I think he's had some nice throws that weren't necessarily 5th round throws. He's had some nice moments, some nice scrambles, right? He is a playmaker at the very least. Now, is he so good that you can even consider holding up your franchise to figure out what he is? No, he's not there yet. And he might never be there yet, right? Like, it wouldn't make sense for you to hold up the franchise. Like, you could be surprised by Shedeur as he continues his career, maybe in Cleveland, right? He still has 3 years left on his contract. So, and it's not like if the Browns draft a quarterback, there's something saying that they have to get rid of Shedeur. He can surprise you, much like a Brock Purdy surprised the 49ers and then find his way into that position. But you're not just going to give him that, right? And I think that's kind of the weird juxtaposition that people have always had with Shedeur. There are people who feel like Shedeur should be treated like a first-round selection, despite being a 5th round selection. And that's just never going to match up with how the organization is going to handle things. So Shedeur in this game ends up in a spot where he's playing a good Buffalo Bills team who did a really good job taking away the things that he does well and kind of forced him to be a checkdown guy in this game. Now, I think in spite of that, the Browns had a really good game plan, and I think Tommy Rees did a really good job in this one. And the Browns could have won it if the Browns didn't turn the ball over 2 times via interception. But that's what Buffalo forced them to do. And for the most part, Shedeur did a good job executing that game plan. It's just he also threw 2 interceptions, and that's why you lost the game. So we're going to look into this. We're going to break down the tape. But before I do that, got to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. what you're going to see Shedeur do for the most part in this game isn't going to be spectacular stuff, because what the Buffalo Bills did a really good job at is taking away this, right? They took away this. They put a cap on the offense, and they forced Shedeur to make quick post-processing decisions, because that's what Shedeur probably struggles the most with, is post-processing quickly. Now, there's pre-snap processing, which is figuring out what alignment and predicting what teams are going to do. And then there's post-processing. So they were aligning in a lot of different ways and then disguising those alignments after the snap. And that gave Shedeur some trouble. Not a ton of trouble, right? I think he's had more trouble in other games. I think Baltimore did probably the biggest number on him. There was the one game where he threw the interception right into the linebacker. And I think that was the 49ers. So there's definitely been times where that has put him into a bind. But let's continue here. Let's watch. Okay, so I'm going to highlight a lot in this breakdown what I feel like are really good play calls from Tommy Rees. I thought he did a really good job, him and Kevin Stefanski, structuring this game plan. I thought this was a winning game plan versus a team that you shouldn't really be punching weight with in the Buffalo Bills. So good stuff here, right? And if we saw more of this kind of stuff, we would be having different conversations about Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees right now. Unfortunately, we didn't have that throughout most of the year. So they're throwing a screen here, and what Buffalo's doing, right? You can see it off this ball. What they're doing is they're dropping back, and they're basically saying you can have all the short stuff. We're just going to cover everything over top. So back. The Browns are going to run the screen right into this, pull two guys, get the ball out to Quincy. Quincy's basically going to be on a punt return. So really nice stuff there, right? Get them into an alley, get them rolling downhill. Really, really, really nice play call here. Again, another really nice play call here. Now, keep in mind, this is actually technically a pass by Shedeur. I don't know if he gets the yards for the whole thing, because this ends up being another, not a pass, but a handoff here. So Malachi Corley here, little pop pass, and then a backwards pass to Isaiah Bond. And then he goes forward here. I don't know what that technically goes down in the stat book. Somebody who's a statistician can let me know, because it feels like that should be a negative 1 yard pass by Shedeur, and then a 20-yard run by Isaiah Bond, but I don't think that's how that goes down. I think this is a 20-yard reception by Isaiah Bond. And Shedeur gets all those passing yards for that one. But really nice design here, right? The misdirection is the funniest thing, that this year of all years, the misdirection has actually worked for the Browns, right? Up, around. Shedeur does a nice job getting a shoulder into this guy. And then Isaiah Bond, super fast. Good job here. Ooh, 68 kind of whiffs here, but it doesn't matter because Bond outruns him. And then Jerry Jeudy doing a good job holding up his DB at the top too. So really good auxiliary blocking on this one. Just a nice play overall. All right, let's get to this play. Little rollout again. Coordinator making the quarterback's life easy. We're watching all three of these plays. Shedeur didn't have to do any work here, right? Talking about two screens, well, one pop pass and two dump offs, right? Easy. This is what a coordinator should do, right? Try to make your quarterback's life as easy as possible. This is making it easy. A little dump off, that's routine, and then Harold Fainin does the rest. But what does the work here? It's the design of the play. It's the misdirection here, right? Browns are able to convince the Buffalo Bills it's going one way. They're cashing in on some of the predictability that they've showed all year. Bills kind of just jump to one spot. They just forget about Harold Fainin, slip him out there, And then 86 does a great job of carrying his man. Boom. Good stuff. All right, a 3rd and 12 here. And a bunch of pressure, but again, a really, really nice play call. A really nice play call here. Little screen. Shedeur gets on his heels, gets that ball out. Good. And then look at that. That's the best image in sports right there, where you got that screen. You got 3 guys making that triangle. You got an opportunity to break the big one, right? Good job. Great play call. Again, I thought that the game plan from the coaching staff this week was really strong, especially in the first half of this game. Really, really strong. I mean, the throw is a little high there. Your running back has to jump for it, so he doesn't even get a complete turn. But it's still such a successful play because it's the right call at the right time. Great job there. So this is the interception. A lot of debate about this, right? I don't think there's much to debate here. This is a 50-50 interception. 50 on Shedeur, 50 on the receiver. Right? We want to talk about what the receiver did wrong here. Well, this ain't receiver. This is Quincy, right? What did he do wrong here? You gotta make an effort to get that with your hands. Turn around if you have to, but you got to secure that. Can't let it bounce off your shoulder pad. You want a better effort there from Junkins, my bad, not Junkins. And you want a better ball from Shedeur. If a better throw is made, that interception is not created. If a better attempt at a catch is made, then that interception is not created. Both of those faults could have stopped this interception from happening. And this interception is part of why the Browns didn't win. So, yes, it's kind of Shedeur's fault. Yes, it's kind of Quincy's fault. It's not one or the other, it's both. Both made mistakes that should have prevented this from happening. Watch it from the end zone angle. We can see how off target the ball is from this one and how poor the attempt is to catch. All right, it's just a drag underneath. It's coming out late and it's behind, which is not great, right? That's behind. That should be ahead of him. He's expecting it ahead of him. It's not. It's behind. But if you're Quincy, shit happens sometimes. You got to adjust to the ball better than this. I think Quincy is saying to himself, I got to adjust the ball better. I think Shedeur is saying to himself, I got to give him a better ball than that. And they're both right. We argue so much on the internet, and we try to make it so that, like, whenever something bad happens, it's never 100% it's never the fault of the people that you like on the internet, right? Like, if you're a Shedeur fan, you're going to try to make that seem like it's not his fault at all. If you are a non-Shedeur fan, you're going to be like, oh no, that's 100% Shedeur's fault. The reality is most things aren't 100% anybody's fault. You know, everybody shares blame and bad things happening sometimes. And that's a situation where it's like, yeah, Shedeur could have threw a better ball. Quincy could have caught the ball or made a better attempt to catch the ball. I think that's both correct. I don't think one needs to be demonized over the other. It's a bad play, resulted in an interception. You would have rather avoided that. This one here gets batted. For whatever reason, they did a pretty good job batting Shedeur's passes this week. I hope that's not a trend that starts to happen where, like, we find out that he has an easy to time up release. Because that's my concern, is that they feel like you can time up his release and they just kind of put it on film here for everybody to copy. Because that's kind of what it feels like it's happening with these tip balls. Like, look how 58's moving. Look at the feet. He's timing this up with something. He's watching something to time this up. Look at this. I wonder if he's timing it off the pad of the ball, or maybe it's the drop of the foot. There's something there he's looking at that he's waiting for, because you can see his feet shuffle. You can see his feet shuffle. Sorry about that. But you can see his feet shuffle. And that feels like he's waiting for something. Yeah, let's look here. Yeah, you see right here? He stops, and like, it's not just him. Look at the other hands that go up at the same exact time, right? 58's doing it. Like, they're both timing it off of something in his throwing motion. I don't know. I don't think he has a elongated throwing motion. Yeah, I've never really thought of it as coming off as elongated, but there is something there that they're timing up, because it happened a lot in this game. There's something that they're timing up there with the release that they feel like they could time up. Somebody figured something out there. See this play here? This is when he did an incredible job getting out of here. You know, one thing you got to give Shedeur Sanders credit for, he is a natural playmaker. He just has a knack for making some plays at times. Now, is that enough to live off as a quarterback? No, he has to develop more around that. But he certainly has a natural ability to make plays here. Look here, he just gets there, plants. This is the old Deshaun Watson move, right? Step, plant, let him duck over you, and just start running. Like, good on him. All right, 3rd and 7, first down conversion. 2nd and 8 now. A little dump off here to Junkins, but that's not really what I'm paying attention to. Look at how the defense covers this, right? I want you to watch this set of defenders right here in this box. Watch where they all go. You notice? What are they taking away, right? They're just dropping back and they're taking away anything downfield, right? They're saying no, 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 no. This was consistent all game. You're not going to get any of this. That's in hell. This is in hell. This is covered. That is covered, right? So they got everything accounted for except for under here. And they were basically going to force Shedeur to eat his vegetables, right? Which is just checking it down. Eat your vegetables. That was the game plan from Buffalo. The Browns had a good game plan to counter. I think they saw this coming from Buffalo, that they were going to let this happen. And the Browns countered it pretty well. Right here, you can see he kind of hitches here. I think he wants to dig for Judy. Let me see where his eyes are when he hitches. Yeah, I think he might want the dig back here for Judy, but he takes the rushing lane instead. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. He gets tripped up here, but he stays on his feet. Yeah, so I think this is the concept going with dagger here. You see 16 running 9 north. And then maybe that being a window that they want to hit here. He does get pressure a little bit. I mean, it's a pretty clean pocket if he just steps up in it. And he got a little bit flighty here. But it's a clean pocket if he steps up into it. Not the cleanest pocket in the world, but there is a window there for him to hit the dig. And I'm sure that's what they wanted him to do. But, you know, this is your second option. I'm not going to be pissed off at it, you know. Just stay on your feet and finish the play. Again, Browns didn't make his job difficult. They weren't asking him to do anything difficult. This is kind of eerily similar to the kind of game they asked Dylan Gabriel to play, right? A lot of just checkdowns, dump it off here, check it down, let's get north. Got that to the 3. This is the play that Quincy got hurt in. We're looking for what happened, what went wrong here. Linebacker, watch the linebacker, watch the center. Center just could not get out to that spot in time to beat the linebacker. I don't love the center having to basically foot race the linebacker from a disadvantage to a spot. I think it's really relying a lot on the design of this, is really, really relying a lot on the linebacker trying to read Shedeur's eyes here. I think this is maybe, I don't know if this is a decoy here at the top or if this is the actual kind of quasi RPO alert type thing where it's like, hey, take this if it's there and then throw the screen if it's not. If this is like a RPO type release, if this is like a RPO type play, this release by Jerry Jeudy is just not going to work because this is too much, right? Way too many steps. Like this one, you just need to kind of get into his shoulder and force his hips open as quick as possible. Jeudy kind of jabs a little bit into this. So I don't know what, it just doesn't feel executed properly. 1. 2, they saw this shit coming because the second that linebacker saw this motion, he wasn't going to watch anything that was happening over here. He went straight over here. Look, boom. And then now you got 55 trying to get to that linebacker, and that linebacker done beat him, right? So it's toast. 56 can't get to that linebacker. I mean, other than that, this play's sealed up pretty well. If that linebacker was taken care of, it's a huge play for Judkins. But that linebacker comes out of nowhere, and Judkins breaks his leg. And it's pretty brutal looking when you just see it on tape here. But it ended up not being as bad as it looked. There's that. But so I want to bring this up because, again, you go online and you see people point fingers because they don't like a player here or they want, something else to happen. I saw people blame this injury on Shedeur Sanders. Talking about, oh, yeah, he threw him a bad ball on the outside here. I just don't agree with that assessment. Like, this is a normal ball. Like, that's normal. I mean, he's threw worse screen passes than that in this game. So that's actually a fine pass there. It's not a hospital pass or whatever the fuck people are calling it online. It's a normal pass. And it got blown up because the linebacker made a great play. The most underrated thing in football, from hearing people talk online, is the opponent being good. That's the most underrated thing because every time, no matter what team we're talking about, what their record is, if something goes wrong, people are assuming that it only went wrong because somebody on their team did something wrong, right? It couldn't possibly be the opponent played well. This game with Shedeur is a great example, right? Shedeur didn't throw downfield. Shedeur didn't have a good game. But I don't think this was because Shedeur is like a terrible quarterback and he'll never play quarterback in the NFL again or anything silly like that. I just think it's because the Buffalo Bills were forcing him to do things that he is not at the point of doing in his NFL career. And that was smart on Buffalo, and they executed really well. And I think the reason that Quincy got hit here isn't because the pass was bad or even the design of the play. We could have a debate about whether you want the center to be out there having that foot race. I'm not comfortable with it, but I don't see a better alternative than that given the way that the play broke out. But, you can make an argument that maybe the design wasn't healthy for Quincy and it was begging for something like this to happen. But really what I saw here is that the linebacker made a hell of a break on the ball. They tried to misdirect him. He didn't fall for it. He saw this play for what it is, and he blew that shit up. I mean, this is stuff that Carson Swester does, and we love him for it, right? They have players who are capable of making plays too. The idea of the defense getting paid when you're evaluating offense is the most underrated thing in the world because it's the last thing people ever want to do is give credit that a defense might have just made some plays on you, man. And that's what happened here, right? The Browns accounted for everybody. The linebacker just beat the play. That's what happened. He beat the play, and he got a clean hit on Quincy, and unfortunately, since it's football, it's a violent sport, he had an unfortunate result. It's really nobody to blame. But good Lord, you go on Twitter, you would think that somebody willed this into fruition. By the way, the Browns got away with the false start here. So this is another one. You can watch this on TV and be like, he needs to get rid of the ball. There's just nobody to get the ball to. The Buffalo Bills played this really well here, right? So it's 3rd and 12. You're down 20-10. They covered that. That's definitely locked. That's covered. That's covered. You might be able to hit that, but that's an insane window to try to hit. I wouldn't be upset at him for not wanting to hit that. So, I mean, this is just good coverage by the Buffalo Bills. I think I do have a critique here of Sanders, which is sometimes when he does end up in these no-win situations, he can't let it go. So he decides to just throw one up in the middle of the field. He threw an interception like this against Tennessee, and it was one of the many things that cost him the game against Tennessee. He has to kill this tendency to be like, oh, fuck it, let me just throw something up there. It makes me wonder about his game management ability, right? Or his situational awareness, because sometimes Shedeur does do some stuff that makes you seriously question whether he's situationally aware that a negative play on 3rd down can have significant consequences for the rest of the game because he does crazy shit sometimes. But yeah, I mean, this is one where it's great coverage. And again, Bills did a really good job. People will ask me all the time, it's like, hey, why does he look different against the Raiders and against the Tennessee Titans than against like Buffalo and other teams that, are playing good football? It's because, well, one team's not playing good football, the other team's playing good football. When people were arguing about practice reps, and that's why Shedeur looked the way he did and how the practice reps were going to dramatically impact how he looks over time. I thought that the biggest thing that was going to impact how he looked on the field would be who he's playing. I think that's a more obvious answer here, right? He looked bad against Baltimore because Baltimore was playing good in that game. He looked bad against the 49ers because the 49ers were playing good in that game. They were providing questions he did not have the answers to defensively. I think the same happened in this game, and the same happened in the last game versus the Chicago Bears. That's really what it is. These defenses are able to provide some answers that he can't find, or questions that he can't find the answers to. And sometimes they just don't give him an answer. And that's when that's where he makes a mistake here and just throws this thing up in the middle of the field. But that's kind of why, right? Play action here. And again, I just think there's something that they're timing up here. Because it's happened like 4 or 5 times in the game where somebody just times it up, I wonder what they're looking at here. Some people think it's the ball pat. I don't think it's the ball pat. Because right here, right, the pat's not always consistent. So I don't think it's the ball pat. But something about when he starts his release, they time up. I think it's the weight shift right here. And they're really able to get a hand on it. Second time. I wonder if that continues. Somebody catches on. Third quarter here. And again, there's a huge opportunity to hit Harold Faden here, right? Harold Faden going to pop wide open. Coordinator doing a good job making his life easy. There's big void here, space. But watch. Boom. Another tip ball. Another tip ball. If it happens once, okay. Twice, huh? 3 times, concerning. 4 times is they're seeing something, right? Look at this. They are timing up something with his release. These aren't like random jumps. There is something that they're seeing that is giving away his release, that is making him really easy to time up here. And I think the Bills have figured it out, or maybe somebody last week figured it out and the Bills picked up on it, but keep your eye on this. Something is happening here, right? It's not really, is it the pad or is it the weight shift? I think it's something though. Like they're timing this up really well. And maybe they just had a good day at it and it's nothing. Before batted passes in a game, I mean, like that never happened to somebody even as small as like Dylan Gabriel, right? And that was like the main concern with Dylan Gabriel was his height. But he did a good job of finding passing lanes. And I thought he had a fairly predictable release too. So I thought this would happen to Dylan a lot more. But this is something to pay attention to. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but this is an abnormal amount of times he's been batted at the line of scrimmage. And it's not like they're just like going 1, 2, 3, rush up. They're specifically timing this with something, right? These aren't random jumps. Oh, I'm just going to get my hands up. I'm losing this battle. This is eyes on the target. And then he's watching something and going up, right? You saw the other one where somebody was timing that with something. I wonder what it is. What I like about Shedeur as a runner, though, he just decides to go, right? Like he doesn't waste a lot of time. He's either going to drop back, try to make a throw on the run, or he's running. And that helps him get the most out of what athletic ability is there, right? So really like that he's a decisive athlete when he chooses to run. Again, another beautiful screen caught up by Tommy Rees. Again, Tommy Rees had him a day play calling this one. He was on fire here. Like he almost upset the Bills here. So kudos to Tommy Rees. Kudos to him and Kevin for the game plan they put together. I thought it was a pretty solid one. We get rid of that one. And then look at the space here, man. Real easy, real fun stuff there. Last few plays on this breakdown. 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. This is a big play here. 4th and 2. 5 minutes left. Look at the score here. 20-23. The Browns have this stack release here. They motion fanning out late here. So they motion fanning out here. That would normally indicate what they're trying to do. And what you identify with the motion is who's covering Harold Faden. You have a positive motion here, right? You motion him out. You see it's a linebacker. And you see that linebacker's on Harold Faden. So that just told you, number one, Harold Faden, we're watching this. Right? He's out there. The linebacker shifts with them. And then not just the linebacker shifts with them, the linebacker shifts to off coverage here. right? Goes from inside to off coverage here. Boom. That decision should be made pre-snap. Right? You confirm it post-snap, but you should make it pre-snap. And the second this foot gets here, that ball should be already over to Harold for that first down. So I think this is a pretty big mistake here. Shedeur didn't like it for whatever reason. He has his eyes, it looks like, on this. I don't get why. Because I don't think he's running a legitimate route here, if I'm being honest. I think he's just making sure that he doesn't get over into this space. So I don't know why he would have his eyes here. I have to imagine he's looking here. That ball should be out. Yeah, the left tackle gets destroyed here by Gregory Rousseau. But you're not really drawing this play up with the expectation that you're going to have tremendous protection. This is a on your back foot, release and go. And he's waiting for this one. Can't happen here, right? Got to fire this off. Ball's got to get out. Got to be more decisive here. I don't see the reason for this not to go to Fannin, especially when we got a linebacker on him. Those are the mismatches that you look for. This is what you drew this one up for. I don't know why there's hesitation here. And, some of his decision-making in late game or critical game situations has been concerning. I wouldn't say that it's a problem yet, but it is definitely something that I'm looking at and saying to myself, I have a concern. It sometimes feels like he doesn't have a good feel for what the sense of urgency is, given the game situation he's in. There was the interception against Tennessee where he throws a YOLO ball for no reason up 3. Like, there's just no reason you should ever throw that ball in that circumstance. But he does. There's some good stuff there. There's some concerning stuff. If we had a definitive starter, like if we were in a situation like Philly, where the Browns had a definitive starter and Shedeur was going to be our Tanner McKee, I think we'd be thrilled with what Shedeur is doing, right? Because what Shedeur has demonstrated so far is that he can definitely be Tanner McKee, right? He can definitely try to be that level of prospect where he's a backup that you feel really good about and that you might shop for a positive draft pick. But has Shedeur played to the level to be able to be like, we're going to bet the team, we're going to try to build around him? It's just not there. I think that's the kind of disconnect that we're having here. Yeah, you're seeing positive stuff at times, and that positive stuff is encouraging for what it is, but it's not encouraging enough to be what people want it to be. And that's kind of the awkward place that we're at with him. All right. 2 minutes and 47 seconds left. Low motion. He's just trying to make something happen here. And look, he makes a great throw here, right? On the run. You would love to see him eventually not let these corners get this comfortable, just like turning their hips away from the out because they don't think he's going to throw it because he never does. But rolls out here, finds a window. I mean, it's close to disaster because look where his feet are. Almost takes a safety, but boom, finds that. That's great, right? And I think that's when people are saying eye test, they're referring to like highlights like that. right? But there's also other stuff that happens on tape, a little bit more functional, that are issues for Shedeur, right? Like right here, you get this blitz. You see this blitz right here on this side? That means the ball's got to come out hot. And if there's no hot, you got to get rid of it. Now they blitz. You want to throw right over the blitz? Boom, ball right here, right? Just get that out right here. If you want to throw in the biggest void that they left, slot is completely uncovered, right? Watch here. I mean, nobody's there. I don't think he's ready for the ball. That's on Gage Larvin. But wasn't really prepared for the blitz. Didn't make a quick enough decision. Takes a sack, and that just erases what he just did with that really nice throw. And then you get to this play here. I mean, there's a play earlier where he almost gets a safety. I think this is the play where he almost gets a safety. Now it's 2nd and 18. They only send 4. It's 2nd and 18. You know, you want Shedeur to just dump this off here and just let's see what we can get so we can go for it on 4th down. And for whatever reason, he doesn't let this one go, right? Harold Fannin off a release. He doesn't let this one go for whatever reason he had, right? This should be out, you know. There's a lot of space there. He could make something happen, maybe get this to like a 4th and 5, you know. But instead he holds, he backs up, and then he gets an intentional grounding. You know, for every highlight that you're going to see plastered on social media with Shedeur, there are a couple of plays that make you concerned about his situational awareness. It is something about him that I don't think people have talked enough about, right? There have been lapses in situational awareness that are quite frankly concerning for a quarterback who has played as much football as he has, right? 4-year starter in college, 2 years at Jackson. 2 years at Colorado. He should be better at this than what he's demonstrating. And to be fair, I had the same exact complaint about Dylan Gabriel when he was out there, that there was some game management stuff that he was quite frankly not good at. And that's his whole MO, right? At least with Shedeur, he has the excuse of that not being his MO. Shedeur's MO is that he could play make, right? And he's play make. But, you know, if we're talking about going further than like, hey, he's a fun developmental backup guy, and like talking about building a team around him, I'm a little uncomfortable with this stuff, right? So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.